Hi, everyone. My name is Mindy Heitland, and I am one of the School to Work coordinators at Waukee, and wanted to share a little information about our School to Work program as we finish up this school year with your juniors and are looking forward to a great senior year in the fall. Your student has applied for the School to Work program. They are interested in learning more about a career field and starting an internship. And I know you may have a lot of questions and may know a lot about School to Work, or you may not know a lot about School to Work. And so just wanted to clear a few of those up. And so we put together a quick PowerPoint since we were unable to have the parent meeting in April. And we welcome any questions you may have after viewing the PowerPoint. And we'll share some stuff with you right now. School to Work coordinators. There are two School to Work coordinators at Waukee High School, Scott Carlson and myself, Mindy Heitland. We are located within the high school and able to meet with your students whenever they have questions, whenever they need anything, and as well as in the classroom. So what is School to Work? So our program has been around over 20 years, and it started small with just a couple kids who were interested in a career field and has grown. We cap the program now at about 74, 75 kids. I bet we have over 150 students apply to the program out of the junior class each year. However, we believe in quality internships, and Mr. Carlson and myself focusing on these students and making sure they have a quality internship with one-on-one career coaching and evaluation throughout the school year. So what School to Work is, I think a lot of people think of your old school DECA programs and where students were, they just wanted to get out of school. They didn't want to be there anymore, and they were just going to go work at a job. That is not what our School to Work program is. I liken it to college level internships. This is a chance for your student who has taken all the classes available in the high school in the area they want to go into. This is a chance for them to go out and work in this specific career field during their senior year and get a real good look, insider look at what the career field is. It's only for seniors, and this is a chance. I always say these students are the best of the best. Not that every student is not a good student, but these are students who are driven. They are willing to put in the time. They want to learn more about the career field, and in return, they're going to get an unbelievable experience that will teach them more about the field they're considering pursuing after high school. I get a lot of employers and parents and guardians who have questions about Apex versus School to Work. And both are fantastic programs. I always recommend that before a student graduates from Waukee, they should have one of those experiences. However, I do understand that it's hard to fit in both within a student's schedule. They both take a large chunk of time within their high school experience. So the difference between the two, they're both authentic work, professional skills. You're going to learn more about career fields. Apex is career exploration. Apex is you're going out, you don't have to have any background in the career field. You pick vet science, you pick engineering. You don't even know how to spell it if you may not even be able to do that. However, it gives you a chance to learn what it is, learn about all the jobs within that field. And you're going to do projects, and every project that you do is going to be real. It's a real work for the business. It is, you'll either go to the business and do the short project, or they'll come back to you. Those experiences are unpaid, and it's half a day for a semester. And you can do it as a junior or a senior. Now, School to Work is a little bit different. School to Work, there's an application process. Many of the businesses, before they hire you, you have to have a specific skill set or level of knowledge before going into the career field and becoming an intern. Because a lot of times the employers don't have time to train the student in that level of Microsoft Excel or as a CNA. And if those students come in with those skills, they can do all sorts of things. So school to work is kind of like a capstone. You've taken everything offered to you. You've probably or maybe had a chance to do Apex, and now you're going to work individually in a career field to learn more about it. So it's only for seniors. Like I said, we take a limited number of students. Mr. Carlson and myself each take 35 students every year. And our sole focus is on training your child and how to be a great employee, giving them career coaching and feedback and evaluation, but also exposing them to the career field and adjusting it as needed throughout the school year. So the goal of our program, this is firsthand experience. Um, you've learned about it. You can learn about accounting in the accounting classes. You can hear from your teachers. It's, as well as I do, it's totally different when you get into the job. And many times I'll have a student come in and say, I know for sure, I love my accounting classes. I know this is what I want to do. And then they get into the career field and work in it every day for the majority of the school year. And they find out, wow, this isn't what I expected. Or maybe it is what they expected. And so, teachers know what they know, but now these students are working with experts in the field. These are your, the front line. These are your accountants. These are your engineers who will tell them, these are the people we're hiring. This is what the workplace is like. Many students develop, and they find out these are my strengths. This is what I'm good at. Here's what I'm transferring over from what I learned in school. And some are surprising and some are, what they thought. And I always say self-confidence. I just, our year this year was cut a little bit short. However, I always say if I could videotape the students the first day of the internship and the last day of the internship, it's honestly just amazing. They're very unsure of themselves to start. They've had jobs or maybe they haven't had a job. And I think by the end of the school year, they're so good. They know what they're doing. They're comfortable having conversations with coworkers, speaking in front of groups. And I think that's such a benefit of this program to learn those skills. Other goals of the program, time management, communication skills. We spend a lot of time on, Google Calendar and just organizing your time because most of these students are pretty involved within the high school. They have extracurricular activities, they have sports and music and things that they're part-time jobs, whatever it may be that they're involved in. And so we always say, okay, look at your calendar for the week. What, conflicts do you see? And how do you deal with those? They can't just come in and say, oh, I'm not going to work today because I have this. Well, you can't do that. You have a commitment to this business. You can ask for time off, but we need to plan it ahead of time. You can't just decide last minute, oh, I'm going to state basketball tomorrow. Well, you knew if they won on Friday night, they would play Tuesday. So you should have asked the week before, hey, if they win their game, they'll play at state on Tuesday. Would it be okay if I change my schedule so I could go to this game? So a lot of it is coaching them through those communication skills, whether it's written, whether it's verbal, being mature and professional in the workplace, setting in motion further training for a career. The employers are telling them, this is what you need to know. Here's additional training you should get. Here's a certification you should consider. Our pharmacy students are getting pharmacy tech certifications. Our dental students are getting dental certificates that they're available to do when they turn 18. And so it kind of gets a jump start on those. Networking and recommendations. Oh my gosh, what the students have gotten at the end of their internships this year. Their references went from their high school coach and their youth group leader to a director of nursing, a surgeon, the head of HR. Those are now their references. And great recommendation letters, and not even just for the letters, but a student who interns here in a medical facility now goes to Iowa City for college, and that doctor is calling over to Iowa City to wherever the student's applying for a part-time job and saying, you need to hire the student. And so it's personal, it's bigger than that. It's not just the smaller, you're rubber stamping it. This is bigger than that. And these students are finding out that this is becoming their personal learning network as well. They're staying in touch with these business partners and their former mentors, and they want to see them do well. The other thing, that last thing here, is updated resume. And we just finalized this year's seniors' resumes, and they're so good. I would put them up against any of their peers going into college. I mean, they're a perfect resume that not only we looked at and perfected, but a lot of their employers went through and tailored them to their career field. And so, which is always a benefit when they go to college. And you know what? A job comes open and yours is done. You have it ready. You're ready for a scholarship. You're ready for a job. So I can go on and on about goals of the program, but want to talk about how students were chosen into the program as well. So we, like I said, had over 150 plus students apply to the program. It was all whittled down. Your child was chosen for a specific reason. We looked at, number one was attendance, because employers have told us the students, they don't have to know all the content of this job, but they have to be here every day and be here on time. That's a hard, that's probably one of the most important parts of this program, is just being there every day, being there to learn. When the employer can count on them, they're going to get more tasks and they're going to get more responsibility. We looked at GPA and coursework. That doesn't necessarily keep you out of it. However, you do have to be passing your classes to be leaving the building. And there are some jobs where they need you to maybe have had web design class or an accounting class or a higher level programming class. And so the student would know that prior to the interview, but we do look at that when we're matching students to jobs. Teacher recommendations, as well as I do, past behavior is the biggest indicator of future behavior. So what they're doing in the class is what they're going to do on the job. And, your student was chosen by the teachers or highly recommended as a good kid, a good student who works really hard, who really wants this and is willing to put the time in to learn. We look at discipline records. Again, that doesn't necessarily keep you out, but employers, if someone is caught stealing, they don't want, a bank does not want to hire that student, keeping, in line with who they hire as employees. We did have interviews with each student, just making sure, do you understand what school to work is? Do you have any questions for us? What are you thinking for a job? Because we could take every great kid, but we may not have a job for them. One time there's a student who, he was amazing. He was 17 years old and wanted to be a pilot. Well, we don't have a lot of pilot jobs for school to work internships. And so it was talking with him and seeing what we could find that was close to being a pilot, to make sure, we want it to be a win-win. We want to make sure that your student is getting a good experience out of this as well. The final part of this acceptance into the program is availability of the internships. If 100 kids apply and want to be nurses, there are not 100 nursing positions for 17-year-olds in the metro who don't all necessarily have a CNA degree. And so if we take your child in the program, we want to make sure that they're not just shoved in a corner filing for 15 hours a week. They're getting an internship that, like I said before, is a college level internship where they are being challenged, where they're getting a variety of tasks, and an opportunity to be mentored by someone. And so, I could take 500 kids and find them jobs, but this program is not just to find jobs. This is about being trained in a career field. So how the program is up. In the fall, the first 9 weeks, they're going to take a career development class. They'll get 2 DMAT credits for this, 1 block a day, and we are just training them in the career field. This is based on evaluations we've done every year with employers. What do your students need to know? What else could we teach them? How can we train them so they are ready to go into the internship from the first day? Some of the things we go over is or preparation for the job. We look at career assessments. All the students have chosen a career field, but we found that a lot of them have changed their mind over the summer or are a little more clear on what they want to do. So the first few weeks, we really just make sure by these career assessments, conversations, we do some informational interviews just to make sure this is what they want to do. And so by doing this, it's really narrowed down what people changing later on. So by doing all this up front, then whatever they go into for an internship, it's usually pretty right on based on what we've found. We do resumes, we do cover letters, we have mock interviews, we have employers come in and interview the students and give them feedback, look over their resumes. We're doing headshots from LinkedIn. Their final for the class is they have to go out and interview for their internship. So that's about as real world as it gets, right? And so, we've set up these internships. If they've done everything they're supposed to, we make sure their schedule works, and then they should be just fine. I don't know if I've rarely, if ever, had a student who didn't pass it and get it. We have quite a few hoops to jump through to make sure this is going to be a good fit for the employer and also for the student. So the class they must pass it and do well to go on to the internship. So it is a prerequisite for this as well. It's a fantastic class. It's just 1 block, but our employers come back and say, these kids are so well trained, they're good to go. It's really been a great benefit for them because those are things employers don't have to teach on the job because they've got it in the classroom. So after the class, they found their internships, they go on their ready to go. Well, terms 2, 3, and 4, the students are available to go out and work for a half day. So how it's set up with their schedule, most students work from about whenever term 2 starts, October 31st-ish, until the end of the school year. They're working 3 hours a day, 5 days a week. Now, there's variations of this. Most students work in the mornings, first and second block, or in the afternoons, third and fourth block. Their schedules are so different now. If they're in choir or band, they would need to work in the afternoons. If they don't have a full schedule, they could work blocks 2 and 3. They could come to school for block 1 and then go intern for 2 and 3 and be done for the day. Some students, I had a lot of students last year as they finished up their classes, they didn't have a whole lot left, that they were interning 5 hours a day or more hours. And so that's fine if it's agreed upon with you, but it's a great opportunity to flex those hours. I had students who did, evenings and weekends. Those are never required. We follow a school calendar. Students only need to work when school is in session. However, if you work at the Iowa Cubs, there's not a lot that happens between 12 and 3 every single day. So they may only work 3 days a week during, let's say, December. However, when they go into spring training or when the season starts, they may go on Tuesday and Thursday, 12 to 3, and then they may work all day on Saturday. This is all agreed upon in our training agreement with the parents, students, employers, so there is no requirement that they work outside of school hours, but I can tell you in some fields it is a much better experience, and the students like it. I mean, if they really want to do this, they want to do the good stuff. They want to work at the games. They want to be there when all the action's going on. There is a minimum of 180 hours. I bet our students get 240 plus. I think all of our students, when we finished the school year this year due to COVID, right before spring break, I think they pretty much all had their hours done by then. So they're probably going to get a lot more hours than that. There are 6 more credits earned through DMAC, so a total of 8 credits for the school year, which is fantastic. Now, one thing that students will sometimes ask me is, I'm taking a lot of classes, I'm having a hard time fitting the internship in, but I know that I really want to do it. We do have an option where the student could just work terms 3 and 4. So they take the class term 1, term 2, they may take all school classes not related to school to work, and then they would start the internship in January. That's okay. That's fine. That's an option because those college credits don't start until January, those 6 more credits. So we can work with that. The only disclaimer I would say is that some employers want the students to start November 1st or end of October. And so your student could choose to say, well, I don't want to start till January because of my classes. Well, the employer may need the intern to start term 2. And so your student would have to make a decision to drop some classes to start the internship or to take a different internship because that one's not going to work out. So that's sometimes how we shuffle kids into jobs based on what their schedule is. But we've been able to work it out every year. It's not usually a problem, but they are going to have to be flexible if they're not willing to change their schedule. Because employers, they spend a lot of time training in specific jobs. So if your student only works from January to May, they may not be getting a lot of return on their investment within the student. A lot of our students actually, and we found this too with this year's group, are working through the summers. So while the internships will end in May, I bet over half of them have job offers to stay on through the summers. And now we're seeing a lot of students come back over fall breaks. They're coming back over the holiday breaks, and they're still on the payroll. So it's a great job, if they do well at their internship, to come back December, January, and jump right back in and keep working as a pharmacy tech or medical billing or whatever it may be. How we grade students in here, our class has always been, I want to say hybrid, it's more web enhanced, but we've been online with Blackboard throughout the last several years because the students are all out at their jobs working. The content from the classroom is always online through Blackboard. That worked out really well for us this year because our students were still on Blackboard. And so when we were not in school anymore due to COVID, those students were able to keep doing their coursework online. So we'll continue to do that next year, just in case anything were to happen. It works so well, and our students are all over the place. It's a great, with their internships, this is great for them to use discussion boards, to chat with each other, to find assignments all in one place. So we will continue to do Blackboard. The class is just a normal class in the fall. And then term 2, when they start their internships, they'll have journal entries they do. They submit weekly time reports. And their biggest grade are performance evaluations each term from their employers. So the student will fill one out self-evaluating themselves on their performance. Their mentor will fill one out based on how they think they've done. And then the 3 of us sit down and discuss it. How's it going? What's going really well? What are some things we can work on? And it's just a great check-in to make sure we're all getting what we want, that this is a win-win for all parties. Most of the time, the student will come in and say, I want more responsibility. And the employer will say, oh my gosh, yeah, let's get you into this meeting or get you on a new project. Every once in a while, something will come up and the employer will say, hey, I really need you to get, be more detail oriented, or, whatever it may be, getting here on time. That I don't know if I've ever had that happen, but it could happen, but it's a good check-in to make sure we're all on the same page. There are weekly meetings with your school to work coordinator, so they don't just go to the job and we see them once a term. We meet with the students every week for half hour, 40 minutes. How's it going? What do you need? What are you doing in your job? And that's really where a lot of things come out, where we find out, ooh, that doesn't sound right. You need to be, you're really filing a lot. We need to look at your training plan and get you more responsibility. Or if a coworker is, taking credit for their work, we're not going to go in and call their boss because Johnny's not getting, X, Y, and Z, but we'll coach the student up so that they get advice on what to do in certain kind of experiences. And I always say, these are great kids, but they're going to screw up. They're going to do so well, and the employers are going to be shocked how good they are, but they're also going to find out they're 17 and 18. They don't have the life experiences. They don't know. They're not purposely doing anything wrong. They've just never been in this, place before. So this is new to them. So how we find placements, myself and Scott Carlson, the other teacher, we find the placements for the students. We have a great pool of jobs that are just really solid, great internships with great mentors who are taking the time with the students, who are not shoving them in the corner and forgetting about them. Just really, really good experiences that we use every year. And your child was chosen because they probably fit into one of those jobs. However, there's a few things that pop up. If there's something where your student has a job they would like to suggest, or you have a family friend, or of someone who's willing to hire your student, we'll consider that. We're happy to call them. But what we found in the past is, oh, my neighbor's a doctor. They want to hire my student. Well, your neighbor, the doctor, he has wants to hire them, every interest in doing so, but HR may say, no, we don't take high school kids. We only take college kids. And so that's where, we will go through all the red tape, work with their business departments to make sure they understand this is not just a job placement. This is an actual internship experience. So, but we welcome any suggestions, businesses. If you know someone, that's where some of our best jobs have come from other parents who, whether it's where they worked or a neighbor or someone they know, those have been some of our, best ones that are still jobs for students 5-10 years later. We get as close as possible to the career area, understanding that, the student who wanted to be a pilot, okay, that may not be a possibility. So whatever your student chooses, okay, well, they can't touch patients or they don't have that certification, but we can get them as close as possible. So it may not be the actual job, but it's going to be pretty darn close, and we do informational interviews in the fall. A lot of times what we find out is that an employer will say, the student comes in and says, I want to be an engineer. I need to go work in an engineering firm. And so we have them go out and interview engineers. And one of the questions we'll have them ask is, what's the best job I could do right now to train and prepare if I want your job someday? And a lot of times the employer would say, well, don't work in an engineering firm filing, go out and work in construction. So I think a lot of times the students find out, okay, this isn't what I thought it was. And there's a lot of different opportunities for them. And so we have a whole bunch of jobs too, and slideshows and information we can share with the students that, oh, I didn't think about that. Sometimes just really good employers at really good internships, even if the field is not what your interest is, sometimes it's just great to get trained in those employability skills and having an opportunity to try out marketing and accounting and several fields within the business. We try to let everyone know by October 1st at the very latest where they're going to be going so we can spend October planning and getting our schedules ready to go. And then there are some jobs, everyone wants to work at, whatever, let's say the Iowa Cubs or a medical center. Well, you may have to have some kind of certification. They may require a CNA, and that could change this year too. Every year it's a little bit different. The employers, this year, no one needs a CNA degree, but next year it could be different. All of a sudden, they've had changes in their human resources department, and now the students will need that. So we can't control those things when we're choosing students. They may also say, we're only taking students this year in the mornings, or it has to be an afternoon. So that's when your student's either going to have to make a choice between a certain class and the internship, or take another position. And we have several positions for every student too. Placements, I'll share with the students too, where our students have worked the last couple years so they get an idea. They know some of those students, they've heard about their experiences, but it changes from year to year. Like I said, we have these great jobs that we send kids to, but that doesn't mean there's not something else out there that we could send them to. Our expectations, the students do have to have their own transportation. I always say they need to have their own car, but I did have a student whose grandma drove him down to the Capitol every day the entire year. He didn't miss a day. So I always say, you don't necessarily, I guess, have to have your own car, but some way of getting there every single day. And if you're having problems with that, please let us know. And we want to work with you to help you figure that out. Safety, if there's no school, like I said, we follow a school calendar. If there are snow days or ice days or whatever it may be, there's no expectation for that student to go to work. I always have students who are trying to get to work. Sometimes there's a snow day, ends up not being that bad, and the students are begging to go to work. And we hope that's what it is, because we hope they love their job so much, and they're probably needed. But safety is always first, and we would work with you to make sure that they're safe and not going when they shouldn't be going. Work hours, I always say between 10, 12, 15 hours a week. If they're doing over 20, we would need approval from you for them to work that many hours. Every job is a little bit different. So, like I said, our Iowa Cup student may be working 10 to 12 hours in the term 2, and then they may be working 15 to 20 when we get to the spring. And so that's okay. We're looking on average, and we keep tabs on that in a spreadsheet every week to make sure they are where they need to go. This also helps us if they're not getting enough hours to work with their bosses to get them more. If their boss is trying to get them too many hours, to work with their employer so they're not working as many. We do follow the conduct policy. I always tell the students, we spend a lot of time on this in the spring or the fall. You're not just representing the school now, you're now also representing the business. So how you conduct yourself, what you do, the business gets to choose whether you are still employed by them based on anything that happens. Hopefully that's not the case, but we do follow the conduct policy. Appropriate wardrobe grooming. There's some students who will need to wear scrubs. Their businesses usually buy those for them. I've had some where you may have to dress up every day, and some where they're very casual. So we will always let the student know that ahead of time, so they know before signing on if they're able to meet whatever the expectation is for grooming and wardrobe. Social media, once the employers know your student's name, they're probably going out and looking them up on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram. And again, they're usually hiring them as a job. And so they get to decide final decision on whether the student is hired or not based on the choices they're making on social media. So I always give them a heads up. Hopefully they're all making good choices anyway, but they're going through their HR and will sign forms for the businesses. The majority of our positions are paid positions, usually hourly. Sometimes it's a stipend or a scholarship at the end of the year or at semesters, but most are hourly. I know all the students want to get paid. And the one thing I do say is some of our best ones are not paid. They are great jobs, but if you're going to be observing surgeries, things like that, they're probably not going to pay you to come in and watch those types of things. But you will always be given the option, here's 2 jobs. This one, you're going to get to go into surgery and see everything, do everything, turn over, whatever it might be, but it's not a paid position. This one is paid, but you will do filing, billing, etc., in addition to seeing a surgery. It's up to the student. You are getting 8 college credits for this program, but a lot of those are sports, things like that. Those are, they're not paid for the college interns doing the same job, so they're probably not paid for our students. And that's a good point too. What your student's doing as an intern is probably the same exact job as a college senior. Most of these students are working side by side with college juniors and seniors doing the exact same job. And so whatever they're doing for that student is probably the same compensation for your student. And then we always encourage, encouraging students, to follow the policies, things like they can't come in and say, oh, I'm not going to work today, I have a flat tire. Okay, well, I can't just skip work every time I have a flat tire. What's your backup plan? Okay, I'm going to ride to school with my sister, and then on the way home, my parents will pick me up. Talking through those ahead of time, because once again, attendance is so important for the students. Final thoughts, everything is conditional. We chose the students based on attendance and passing classes and discipline records and things like that. And so we will still check all of those after summer and make sure classes were passed and attendance was good, to make sure they can still move forward. There will be a training agreement that all parties will sign. The student, the parent's guardian, myself, and the employer, that we're all agreeing to these terms, these hours, this compensation, where they'll be working, how far they have to drive before they go anywhere. So whatever waivers, things like that they look at, you will look at all those forms before they step foot into that business. The other one is a training plan. This is a reason we only take so many students into the program. We have a specific training plan that has individualized tasks of what your student will accomplish by the end of the internship. And we're constantly updating that because we want to make sure they're not stagnant and just doing the same thing every day. That's not the point of this program. We'll go find them a job if that's what they want to do, but that's not the point of this. And so we'll work with them every term to update their training agreement with their employer to make sure they're moving forward. Now, on the other side of that, the student needs to understand this is not huge projects. They're not going to walk in the first day and do a marketing plan. One thing I heard someone say once, the best part of this program is learning the grind. And I think we all know what the grind is in jobs is showing up every day and doing whatever asked. And you're not better than any task. And whatever it takes, and what do you know? They spend the first month doing whatever it is, probably not the exciting, fun stuff, but what do you know? They do it. They're happy. I'll take out the trash. I'll shred the papers. I'll do the data entry. And what do you know? Next month, they get more responsibility and more, and they get to know the student. And by the end, the student is doing all the marketing projects and those types of things too. So it's teaching them the grind and finishing what you start too. I always say the 3 best things, or 3 things that come out of this program. Number 1, students find out, I love it. This is exactly what I want to do. This internship is confirmed. I'm going into this major next year. Number 2, I think there's a few students every year, not very often, but they find out, nope, this isn't what I want to do. I had a great experience. I had a great internship. Everyone was so nice, but this isn't what I thought. And that's successful also. And the third thing I think students find out is there's so many other jobs within this field I didn't even know existed. They only know what they know. And so when they get into these internships, they're finding out, oh my gosh, there's all these types of engineering, or there's all these kinds of contractors who come in here. I didn't even know you could be this kind of sales job. And so that's a huge benefit to them as they're being coached by their bosses and supervisors into career fields. What's going to be the next hot job? Well, again, look at attendance and conduct, and we thank you for any support you can give us. We're always welcome if you have questions. If there's things that come up and you say, I know that, Lisa, my daughter Lisa really wants to go downtown, but we know how Lisa drives and we're not comfortable with her driving downtown, you can just tell us those things. Because this is different than any other class or program at the high school. If you want to call us or email us and say, hey, I know she's saying this field, but can you have a conversation with her about a different field? Because whatever reason, we're more than happy to do this because we want all parties to, be invested and figure it out. So, if you have other questions, you're always welcome to email us and call us. We'll be in contact with your child over the summer as we work on placements and trying to find them opportunities. And then we'll be ready to go in the fall. It'll be exciting. And employers are so excited to have the students back after this year was cut short. And it'll be a great, exciting senior year. So thank you for your time. And we look forward to hearing from you soon.